What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. We're going Super Speedway racing once again this weekend at Daytona for the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona International Speedway on Saturday night. Hopefully you're not watching this on Sunday around 7:30 p.m. Eastern on August 24th. And you all know I love Super Speedways just because of the strategy component. Obviously no one knows how to project this race. If anyone tells you that, they're a dirty liar. But what we can project is what the field is going to do, and we can make pivots based off of those assumptions, but we'll save that for the strategy portion. Anyway, this happens to be your first time here. What's up? My name is Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on Saturdays, live streams on Sundays, although this week it's videos on Friday, live streams on Saturday. Gonna plan for around 5 p.m. Eastern, so hopefully I'll see you there. And also, gotta give a shout out to last week's comment contest winner, Michael and De Palma. Both of you were 3 away from Kyle Larson's laps led. And if you want to enter this weekend, it's a little bit different. Not going to do laps led because who the heck knows at Daytona. Let's do who is going to score the most fantasy points and how many, and the winner will get a cash prize. And if you enjoy, make sure you like down below, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for Daytona. And if you're ever going to listen to a strategy portion of a video for any race, Daytona and Talladega are the most important ones because we have to play this track completely different than any other. Dominators don't care. They don't matter. Salary cap, also don't care. If you want to leave $20,000, $30,000 on the table this weekend, I'm all for it. Go for it. Don't care. The actual drivers, they don't matter. Whether it's Chase Elliott, Todd Gillen, Cody Ware, it doesn't matter. All that matters this weekend is where these guys qualify and the starting positions. It's really as simple as that. For example, if, like I said, we don't know how to project this race, but what we can project is there's going to be some chaos at some point. It might be at the beginning, in the middle, at the stage end, or it might just be completely clean until the last few laps, but at some point there is going to be a wreck. How many cars is that going to be? I don't know. Is there going to be overtimes and more wrecks? I'm not sure. We've seen instances where we lose half the field at Daytona. We've had instances where it goes more so clean. We don't lose as many, but Daytona is the most chaotic of the super speedways compared to Atlanta and Talladega. And we can almost guarantee a big one here. So you always want to roster drivers in the back because they offer the most upside. And the reason being is if everybody's almost on an equal playing field and everyone's almost got an equal chance to wreck, and honestly a lot of the drivers that usually run up front are more likely to get into the wrecks because they're the ones jockeying for position, and then one slight error from somebody, doesn't matter who it is, they can take out half the cars. And then the guys in the back, they're just taking their top 20s, taking their top 15s with 20, 25, 30 place differential positions gained. And now if you do this strategy until there's a wreck, I mean, there's a decent chance you are just getting killed all day, but don't look at how you're doing during this race. Whether it's 2 laps to go or 100 laps to go, it does not matter because it's going to change. One wreck will wipe out everybody, and you could be winning a lot, losing a ton, and you could be losing a ton and winning a lot. And usually you want to be losing for the majority of this race. So please don't think how you're looking during the race means anything because it does not. But for those of you that love BJ McLeod, love Cody Ware, Parker Retzlaff's in the field this week, Austin Hill, this is your time to shine because these guys are all playable. Harrison Burton, I am recording this before Patterson qualifying, but you want to stack the back this week, play the ugliest lineups that you can possibly can, and you should feel good about that. And for examples for how we should attack this in tournaments, because like I said, we can't project this race, but let's say Chase Elliott, for example, starts 28th. Obviously, he's one of the best super series drivers. He's a very popular name. You'd expect him to finish high in chances where there's no wrecking for Chase Elliott, but there's a decent chance he could wreck. And if Todd Gillen's starting 29th, and if he's at a fraction of the ownership, I would much rather play Todd Gillen because he has the same exact upside. I don't care what the names are. I don't care what the cars are. Same exact upside. I have Cody Ware starting 36, and you have Martin Truex starting 33rd. Once again, that presents an opportunity to pivot in tournaments because the ownership is going to be extremely swayed in Martin Truex Jr.'s position, even though Cody Ware has just as much upside. All right, and finally, moving on to the driver-by-driver breakdown, I do mention one thing first, and that is, of course, if you want to check out the extra content over on Patreon, link is down below in the description or the pinned comment for that. Yes, listen to the entire NASCAR model, the entire betting model, all the sims that I run, all the practice data, cheat sheets, Discord, optimize ownership projections. I do an article every single week. We have football coming in just a couple of weeks, and I do it in a very similar fashion, have models for that, run sims, and I'll be covering all the showdown slates as well. So if that's something you're interested in, you want to check it out, link can be found down below. And speaking of football season being right around the corner, I gotta show love to the new sponsor of the show, Outlier. If you are a sports bettor, bet on props, just want some extra data in your life when making decisions, because as we all know, data is the best way to bet. Do not do it based off of gut feelings. And if you head over to NFL here, look at some of the props. It has all the data you could want. We look at Isaiah Pacheco, for example. last 10 hit rates. And basically, I'm not going to take the entire time to go in depth here, but as you can see, it's basically all the data you could want in one place. On the right, there's even more. And the cool thing is, if you do want to make a bet based off the page, all you have to do is add to your picks. And then down here, it'll take you to whatever book it's offering it on. And then you can make the bet directly over on the site without making it much of a hassle. Also have your most positive EV bets, any boosts that you might miss out on. They got them all right here, arbitrage and middle bets. So make sure you check it out once we hit football season, and you can find my link down below. All right, it's later in the day and qualifying has just concluded, and this will probably be a shorter breakdown than normal because there's really just not much I can say. We can reference the starting positions, but it's not like we can break down practice speeds, how guys are fast at similar tracks, or tire combinations. You can't really do that because none of that matters here. Super Speedway, it just matters where you start, and if you get lucky enough to be able to finish the race and not wreck out. I do want to mention that we did see Daytona earlier in the year, it just kind of fuel savings for a while. So if we're kind of just running too wide and just not really, nothing's really happening, I wouldn't be too surprised. But these guys will race at some point. I imagine there will be a wreck. And even if there is no wreck, which I would say is highly, highly unlikely at Daytona, these guys still shuffle around so much where, yeah, place differential ends up being the winner. All right, so we'll start with the 9K range up first. And big range here, only two guys in the 10K range because a track like this, when the odds are so high for everybody, like when you have the winner at plus 1,000, you see it's extremely soft pricing. And pricing does not matter at all this weekend, so don't worry about trying to fit guys in because most likely you're going to be leaving a ton of money on the table. All right, so we'll start top with Denny Hamlin, $10,300. He'll be starting in 19th. And he is one of the best Super Speedway drivers. He is one of the best drivers at Daytona, like in history. Extremely good here. I'm pretty sure he won like 3 in a row at one point. And I remember a couple years ago, he had like an average finish of 2.4 at the Super Speedways over the course of like a year or two. Obviously, those numbers have fluctuated. And once you get a bigger sample size, that's obviously going to go down. And as you can see here, in the past 5 races at Daytona, we have not one top 15 to show for it. So yeah, the luck can sway. And like I always say, anybody and everybody has an equal chance of wrecking here. Denny Hamlin was a guy that you could almost pencil in for a top 5 or a win at Daytona. That has certainly shifted in recent years, but all it is comes down to luck. If he does not wreck out, he'll be in position to win. So starting mid-pack, that does put him in play, but there is still a ton of risk there and definitely not a cash game play. Brad Keselowski, $10,300. He's going to be starting in 12th, and he also is one of the best Super Speedway drivers. If he won this race, I would not be surprised at all. RFK won this race last year. Keselowski kind of just pushed his teammate, Chris Buescher, to the win. Didn't really try to beat him out for it. So he's in a similar range as Denny Hamlin, but starts further up, so there's even more risk there. He's someone I'd probably, I don't know, like 5 to 10% of lineups if you're playing 150. Definitely wouldn't touch him in like a single entry. I just think there's way too much risk there. Ryan Blaney is like the same exact play as Brad Keselowski, just starting 2 spots further back. And Blaney is always chalky-ish, I should say, at Daytona, no matter where he's starting, because he is arguably the best Super Speedway driver. If you're looking at this 15 race sample size at next gen Super Speedways, which does include Atlanta, Talladega, and Daytona, he has the best average running position, the best driver rating, the most top 5s, the most top 10s, and some of the most dominant points. Like, he is obviously very good here. If he does not wreck out, he will be a contender to win. But like I said, everybody's got an equal chance of wrecking, and starting at 14th, there is a lot of risk. So tournament play only. Same exact thing can be said for Chase Elliott, also one of the absolute best Super Speedway drivers, but starting in 10th, you just can't get to that much ownership. If you are playing 20 to 150 lineups, you can filter in a couple of these guys per build. I usually go with the strategy of 0 to 2 drivers starting 1st through 12th, 0 to 3 drivers starting 13th through 25th, and then 3 to 6 drivers starting 25th on back. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing 150, 20 lineups, some of these guys will filter in, but you definitely don't want to be that heavy on them. And with their name value, you usually want to be underweight. Byron won the Daytona 500 earlier this year. He's usually up front at Super Speedways, but he's also a guy that can wreck out a lot, has 3 wins in 15 races, which is the most of all drivers. But starting at 7th, extremely tough spot to be in. Joey Logano, usually a prime fade candidate at these tracks. Not to say he's not one of the best, which he is. He'll be running up front. He starts in the top 5. He'll probably lead some laps. But if he gets wrecked out, I mean, there is just so much downside there. If we take a look at the heat map here, pretty sure you guys can see it on your screen. Like for Logano, because dominant points really just don't mean much here. We're talking like 47, 50 points if he wins the race. I mean, for Eric Jones to get 50 points, all he has to do is finish almost pretty much in the top 20. Fast laps will be just extremely random in this race. I mean, these guys are really just capped here because it's not like we're at Richmond and these guys can get 50 dominator points. I mean, you're really just looking at the heat map here. And if anything happens to him, like let's say Logano finishes 34th, he gets caught up in the wreck, minus 24 points. Just for example, if Eric Jones gets caught up in a wreck, he finishes last, he gets 1 point still. Like there's really just no downside of playing these guys in the back. And there's all the downside in the world, not even that much upside for these guys starting up front. Because, I mean, Eric Jones, I know Eric Jones is an obvious play. I'm not saying he's crazy. I'm just using him as an example, extreme example. He could finish 5th in this race. That wouldn't be surprising. He gets 74 points. For Joey Logano to get 74 points, I'm not even sure if that's possible in this race with the fast laps being ran. I had to do the math in my head really quick, but there's just no upside at all. Kyle Larson in 9th. He's a magnet for wrecks. He usually runs well, but as you can see, average finish of 24th, running position of 16th, and 1 top 10 in 15 races at super speedways. It's just been brutal luck for Kyle Larson. Same as William Byron. There's just not much upside here. But Wallace is in that Denny Hamlin range where he's starting mid-pack. It's going to be an ugly range because usually people don't want to play mid-pack drivers. And if anyone's playing mid-pack guys, I mean, you're probably looking at... I haven't really looked down the list too far, but we have Alex Bowman in 21st. We have Ross Chastain, mid-pack, Tyler Reddick. But Wallace is a good super speedway driver. Maybe he gets a little bit overlooked because of the starting position and the price. People really care about that. Like, he's in the tournament pool. I'd rather play Wallace over guys like Larson, Logano, William Byron, Chase Elliott, personally. Dropping down to the AK range, Chris Buescher. View him as the exact same play as Brad Keselowski, pretty much. Did win this race last year. Maybe that bumps his ownership up, but like literally the same exact plays. Keselowski, Kyle Busch, honest, I hate to keep saying it because the car doesn't matter. Like, yes, they're good super straight drivers, and that can bump them up a little bit, but it's basically all about starting positions here. Kyle Busch in RCR has been incredible at them. 8 top 10s, 4 top 5s, just have a win at Talladega. And honestly, could have won that Daytona 500 last year. So again, just like the same play as Keselowski, Blaney, Elliott. There's not much differentiating them. Dropping down to Tyler Reddick. He's starting in 25th. He did win the dual race, dual 2, I believe. Dual 1, I don't remember. Earlier this year. I mean, he won Talladega as well. Maybe he's somewhat underrated at the super speedways. I don't mind him just because of where he's starting. Martin Truex Jr. stuck in that Truex, Denny Hamlin range. If you're going with a little mid-pack Toyota stack, go for it, but it doesn't seem like the most exciting thing in the world. Christopher Bell starting in 27th. I can see people playing him in cash games. He's just starting far enough back to where it's starting to get viable. I usually don't play guys starting 25th on up in cash, and I usually just try to go straight 30s. I have not looked at the entire qualifying order yet. I'm going through this with you guys together, so maybe we can build an all 30s lineup. I'm just kind of eyeballing it here, actually. It looks like we should. So I don't even think it's necessary to play Christopher Bell in cash games. If we can just stick the 30th on back, that's really the best route to go. Chastain, he's right in there. I mean, if you're starting 20th on back, you're in the player pool. And the further back you go, you kind of up the player pool, and the closer up you get to 20th, you kind of lower the player pool. But Chastain, good super straight driver, and obviously he could get himself into some chaos, but makes him tournament worthy. Same exact thing can be said for Alex Bowman. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is kicking off the 7K range. I feel like he always starts 35th or something at super speedways, but that's going to put him in play for cash games. He'll be one of the top projected plays on the slate. Obviously, a winner here at Daytona before, and actually multiple times, I believe, way back in the day. So yeah, Stenhouse, cash game lock pretty much. Michael McDowell, complete fade. I don't care if he wins the race. I don't think he'll be a top 6 scoring driver, even if he won. Obviously, depending on how some of the PD drivers go, but I don't think McDowell is going to lead the entire race and win. Ty Gibbs, same thing as Christopher Bell pretty much. Like, he's in the player pool starting 25th on back. Cindric's too far up for me. Like, if you're playing 150 laps, maybe he squeaks into 2 to 5%. But he basically has to win the race. Austin Dillon, 16th. Don't see myself getting much there. I will probably completely fade Chase Briscoe. Eric Jones is the best play on the slate from a projection standpoint. Now, you have to factor in the ownership's going to be extremely high. So in some lineups, you can leave Eric Jones out, and you can pivot to, let's say a BJ McLeod if you wanted to, or a Cody Ware. That's perfectly fine. But from a projection standpoint in cash games, yes, he'll look like the best play on paper. And he's also really good at super speedways too. Like, I usually play him every super speedway because he starts 25th, and he's always a good tournament play. But starting in 40th, I mean, that just makes him auto. Gregson, just in that dead spot in 15th, not a lot of upside. Gillen, no thank you. But front row, shout out to them. They kill qualifying every single super speedway. Daniel Suarez, just kind of in that gross zone where people aren't going to play him. If he finishes 8th, I mean, that's great. I'm not sure if enough to be optimal, but he'll be in the player pool at least. SVG is in the 30s. I don't think he's a cash game lock because I see we have LaJoy, Hocevar, and Haley down here. But yeah, he's a good play starting in 32nd. No doubt about that. Barry's a fade in 5th. LaJoy, one of the best plays in the slate in 34th. Just really good at super speedways. Average finish is 16th, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 10 top 20s in 15 races. Yeah, LaJoy is an excellent play in cash. I do think he'll do something extremely stupid at some point in this race. Let's just hope it takes on other drivers and not himself. Priest is a fade. Carson Hocevar, cash game lock here, starting at 37th. I don't care what these numbers say. It's a small sample size, and it's all luck based with super speedways anyway. So yeah, play him in cash games all the way back. In 37th, Zane Smith's in play. I don't think many people will play him or John Hunter Nemechek starting at 30th and 31st because you can just play Hocevar. You can play Corey LaJoy. And based off of salaries this week, you don't really need value plays. So these are going to be excellent tournament spots because their ownership is probably going to be single digits. Austin Hill starting a little bit far up for me to have a lot of interest there. Justin Haley, another guy that probably going to be a cash game lock for me. 8 top 20s in 15 races. I believe it's a 15 race sample size for him. Yeah. And he's also a pretty underrated super speedway driver. I do like Justin Haley a lot. Harrison Burton starting too far up for me. Hemrick's in that same range as Zane Smith and Nemechek. We're most likely going to be single digit owned, but everybody's got top 10 potential to a certain degree. Cody Ware also in play. People are not going to play him in 33rd, but I will. Average finish of 21st in 9 races at super speedways. I'll take that. Parker Retzlaff. I do have a random bet on Parker Retzlaff at 2,000 plus 2,000 for a top 10. Put like half a unit or 0.6 units on that, I believe. I was just showing slight. I showed value at plus 900 and something. And DraftKings had about plus 700. Hard Rock had plus 2,000. So had to bet that. Obviously, do I think it's the most likely outcome? No, but when you're going to give me value like that, I had to take it. And then BJ McLeod and Joey Gase. Are these guys going to be slow? Yes. Are they going to suck? Yes. That's a good thing here at Daytona. So don't be afraid to play BJ. 14 race sample size here, average finish 25th. But averaging 28 DraftKings points per race, and that's better than a lot of these guys up front can say sometimes. So BJ's in the player pool and Joey Gase in the player pool. I mean, I guess if I had to worry about one guy not making it the entire way, it would be Joey Gase in the 44 car, but just going to depends on when the wrecks happen, and if they happen early enough, I mean, Joey Gase could pick up 10 spots. It's certainly possible. With that being said, that's all I've got for you guys this week, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, even if you didn't, make sure you like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. Hopefully I'll see you on the live stream tomorrow evening. Because after that, I think we only have one left because football season will be starting, so that sucks, but it's been a very fun year. Still be doing the videos, there's no live streams. So wish you all the best because we're going to need all the luck we can handle this week, and I'll see you all